to public participation, but I've put Gary Moore after the as part of the deputations. So if we could have the turning the tables, young people, Sophia, if you could come forward. I don't know whether Tyler, whether you all want to come up together or whether you want to. Do you want to come up as a group or do you want to?
Yeah, we can come up. Yeah.
Yep. So if you'd like to introduce yourselves and I think 10 minutes with the two of you at the table. Yeah.
Lovely, thank you.
Awesome. First of all, I'd like to thank you guys for having us here today. And last night it was a really, really cool experience to talk on behalf of the youth that we had communicated with. For those of you who weren't there last night, my name is Sophie and I'm with the Christchurch Youth Council. So we have a memorandum of understanding with you guys, and so pretty much we get a youth voice into the decisions that are being made in regards to Christchurch. Yeah.
Cool. So I'm Taylor, I'm the co-chair of Youth Voice Canterbury, and we're a network of all the youth councils and youth participation groups in Christchurch, such as the Christchurch Youth Council, Pacific Youth Council, all those groups. So what we aim to do is host a space 4 times a year where we can bring these groups together to work, connect, collaborate and support each other. And we support our youth guides to connect young people to decision makers and offer opportunities for adults to engage with young people. From our network came the collaboration between CYC, Pilot and the Christchurch City Council and the idea of turning the tables, which you were all invited to last night.
So turning the tables was when we got to sit in your seats, and the Mayor and quite a few of the councillors came and sat in the public gallery, and we debated issues that we surveyed 250 young people, and we got 5 top issues, which were mental health, having your say and decision makers listening, the rebuild, youth-friendly places and spaces, and cultural diversity. So I can cover a few of the main points from each of the 5. So for mental health, I opened up on this and we talked about the importance of mental health, and that after the earthquakes, the label was changed to stress, family conflict and isolation from enjoyable things and individuals, and that the seriousness of suicide in that last year, 529 youth took their own lives. So working towards a lesser number.
So I got to talk about having your say, which is really important to me. And the main point that I made about that was, unless you're an out there engaged young person like us, it's very hard to have your say in council matters. I did some research and went to the website to see how your average young person would be directed to have their say, and there's a lot of things to click on and a lot to read and a lot of jargon, and the whole process could be more youth friendly, we thought. We acknowledge the work that the youth councils do to make the voice of young people heard in a youth-friendly way that makes sense to them. But at the end of the day, young people can have their say as much as they want, but if the decision makers aren't willing to listen, then it's a waste of time.
Then we looked at the rebuild, and the general consensus was that the rebuild is too slow. And again, how can we incorporate young people to have a say in these issues? And that's again getting us involved at the start and not in the middle of a conversation where it's too late to have much of an input into what's happening.
So the 4th topic was youth-friendly places and spaces. We talked about how young people want places that are safe, appealing, accessible, resource and youth-friendly. And youth have a lot to say, and often something will be planned and we're asked later if it's a good idea. It kind of echoes what Sophie just said. How about we get involved from the beginning, because young people can add more value and it means a lot more to them to be involved in the whole process. Christchurch Youth Council are lucky enough to have young people on the Victoria Square reference group, and that's really cool, but we've had issues getting involved with more things like that, and we'd like to see a change in that, and we're excited to be asked to be involved in the designing of the libraries.
I'd just also like to add that we're the ones going to have to live with the decisions being made now. So I think it's really important that we're involved in these decisions, because it's going to be what we grow up with, and it's going to be our home. And then the last one we talked about was cultural diversity, and that the importance of having, that it's our duty and our right to stand up to groups and individuals being targeted, and that also, again, having strong leaders of different ethnicities who are doing really, really cool things to kind of get rid of that stigma of racism.
Yeah. And so if you follow YBC or at youthvoice_Chicha on Twitter, you can see a live update of what was said by all the young people last night. It was really cool having that going. So where to from here? We are interested in getting back together to discuss last night and write up any recommendations for you guys. Mayor Dalzell even said that she would really like to see it happen a lot more regularly, and that it was awesome and done in a more youth-friendly way. We did want to say thank you to the Mayor, Deputy Mayor and the councillors who did come last night. It meant a lot to us and showed us that a few of you really do care about the youth voice. And we also want to say thank you for this open mic session. We think it's really cool and we really love for it to be promoted more to young people, and you'll probably see a lot more of us, because I'd like to see Youth Voice Canterbury support young people to take this opportunity to have their voice heard by you guys. Thank you.
Excellent. Actually, an idea that came up last night, which I thought was really, well, actually it made me feel embarrassed, and I had to tweet on it, and tweet a sort of hats off to the Mayor of the Waimakariri District Council. I was humiliated when a voice from the back of the chamber says that the Waimakariri District Council sends 3 councillors, including the Mayor,
Yep.
to all of the youth council meetings every month, and I thought, oh, we don't even send one. So I think that's probably something we need to remedy, because it goes both ways, doesn't it?
It is. It's a two-way conversation.
Yeah. And the second one was in relation to the annual planning process. So, and one of the offerings, and Di Keenan, who's sort of kind of sitting at the sidelines there, I think might be a good person to just connect with before you leave the room. But about how do we engage young people in our annual plan process? Okay. And given that that will start next year, probably in February, with a discussion document that will go out with a proposed annual plan, and how do we engage young people in that process? It seems to me that we should hand that over to the Youth Council and to Youth Voice Canterbury, because you engage with all of those other organisations. A social media campaign amongst young people focused on particular issues, and maybe a pizza-related conference. I got the very strong message that you've got to have a reason to go to something that's a little bit more than come to a meeting. So eat and meet is a good concept. So does that sound like a...
That definitely sounds like something that Youth Voice Canterbury would like to work on.
Yeah. Phil?
Thank you for coming today, because I wasn't able to come last night. I was farewelling some young school students who are going to Kurashaki, one of our sister cities.
Yeah.
So, look, what I'm interested in the what you raised about suicide, and particularly from the point of view of prevention, and if you've got any ideas or sort of suggestions that we as a city should be taking, especially to support young people around that whole what we call a psychosocial area. Or what we as a council could support too.
Yeah, I think the All Right campaign that came out has been really, really successful with the 5 tips to a good wellbeing. I think it's keeping it simple. I went to a talk with a guy called Rob Gordon, disaster psychologist, and he was talking about just being there for people. And nowadays, families have to work more than they probably did a while ago, and it means that the children are kind of having to spend more time, without their parents, and I think it's just really important to keep conversations going about issues like this. Just having someone to talk to, just keeping it really simple. Like, you don't need intense therapies, but just people that understand, and getting more promotion around the stigma of getting help, and that mental illnesses are like these really embarrassing things, and that you can't get help because people are going to judge you for the way that you are. I think just a lot more promotion and just having those positive role models out there of people who are doing well, because I lost a friend just over a month ago, and she was at the end of her recovery and getting better and stuff, and then she was so scared about moving on and having this new life, and she'd done so much work, and then it just ended because she didn't know how to move on and how to get a good life.
Thank you for those ideas, those comments.
It's all right, hopefully that's helpful.
That was helpful.
Yanni?
Sorry, I didn't be there last night, but thank you for coming and for doing this morning. I just wanted to kind of get a feel if there was anything in the city that young people really like, or anything that they really, if they could change, they would change.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, the young people are so diverse that I don't think we could pin our finger on one thing that they really like or want to change. The young people who live in Linwood would think something completely different to the ones that live in Bishopdale or the ones that live in the city centre. I think it's a matter of engaging with those communities themselves. I don't want to speak on behalf of all young people.
I think that came through last night, that there is diversity of thinking around the table. You know, you can say that, you know, that they were all young people, but you would say that the thinking was as diverse as around this table, you know, so it's, you know, you can't have a single thing that says, what do young people think?
Yeah, let's ask them.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, thank you very much, and we really appreciate you, you know, because we did put it on you last night. It was the Deputy Mayor who gave me permission to use the word awesome, but it really was an experience that I hadn't had in terms of this room being taken over by young people, and, you know, I just thought it was incredibly worthwhile, and I'm glad that you took the opportunity to come along this morning.
Awesome.
So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And we as a council need to think about putting people on the youth council, all right?
Well, I understand that I have attended a couple of the meetings, but more lately, the timing hasn't been quite right, so it might be a scheduling issue that if they could be at a time when perhaps there's a selection of councillors that could attend, it would be helpful.
So, well, can I leave that with you, Pauline, to sort of make some contact and to talk about what might work for councillors?
Okay.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right.